Morning. So glad to be here this morning. All right. Gosh, what week are we on? I think we're at week 10. Oh, so excited to be here. We're going to be in Numbers today. We were in Leviticus last week, and let's pray. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for this past week. Thank you for the sun shining. Thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon each and every one of us. We may not see every single thing that you are doing on our behalf, but we know that you are there. And Lord, I just ask that this week that you continue to show us your goodness and your graciousness and your love and the light. Thank you, Lord, for every moment, every single day, every single moment. May these words in this book just jump out at us, Lord, and show us the things that we really need to see. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Well, we were in Leviticus last week, excuse me, and this week we're in Numbers. And as many of you know, Numbers can be a little bit difficult to truly understand. I've been diving in it for the past couple of days, just trying to truly understand Numbers and what would be the best way to go through Numbers, because again, it's another chapter here in the Bible that is pretty big. Now, I did post what the theme is, and it's trust and wilderness. And I think that just reigns so true, because trust determines the timing, right? There's a lot of times that, we say that we trust God with the things that are going on in our lives, but I think that there is also hesitation. And, up until this point, we've read, and I just want to show you about this much and this much now that we're inside of Numbers. And the thing is that at this point in the Old Testament, God has delivered the Israelites from Egypt. He's parted the sea. He's provided food. He's given law in his presence. He's given law to people, and people have seen miracles happen. Yet inside of Numbers, miracles don't always mean that they're going to automatically produce trust. And the wilderness becomes a testing ground for the heart of Israelites and people in general. And I just want to preface by saying that, as I was reading about this and going through it, I think I have a little bit of a trust issue as well. And just in my own life, there's certain things that I wish were a little further along than they are, or certain things would happen. But I also am reminded that, it's all in his timing, and truly giving everything to him and truly trusting him. So as we go into Numbers, I'm not going to be reading until about chapter 11. And reason for that is a couple things. So the first part of Numbers, and I'm going to go through each of these chapters, this is really the registration of Israel's troops, right? So these are the tribes or the people that are everyone that's been taken out of Egypt. You have all these tribes, and you have these leaders, and you have these appointed people that have now are creating the Israelites, that are creating God's people, right? So in one, you have all of the tribe leaders, and then you have the tribe sons. Then you have what the organization is and how things were organized inside of the camp by the tribes. And it tells you the numbers, right? It tells you the number of people inside of each of these. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about, okay, well, this is truly the creation of God's people. And I mean, these numbers aren't small. I mean, some of them, it's like 74,000, in this one, what they called then tribe, and then who their leader was. It's almost kind of like here in the States, you have a state and then you have a governor, right? So it's like you're the one that is pretty much rounding these people up in a sense. I don't want to say controlling, but you're in charge of these people, right? And then in 3, this is really the family line of Aaron and Moses as it was recorded on Mount Sinai. And so it's the sons. It talks about the tabernacle, the appointed service, the registration of the Levites, and talking about, like, again, the people, whether it's males, females. It talks about redeeming the firstborn sons, the duties of the Kohathite clan. It goes on and it tells the duties of each clan inside of here in 3, and the summary of that registration, and then the purity. And as we get to 6, this is the Nazirite laws. And these are, again, more instruction, right? And one of the most popular verses I've heard so much that it literally brings me to tears every time I hear it is the priestly blessing that the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to bless the people of Israel with this blessing. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you peace." Now, I know that there's a couple different versions of that. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you peace. So there's many different versions of this that I've heard in the past. And the fact that it comes out of Numbers, I'll be honest, I didn't know it was in Numbers. I mean, it's in Songs. So this is truly, there are some amazing verses inside of here. They also talk about more offerings of dedication. And it talks about, like, on the first day of the second month of the 20th of the, third year, that kind of thing. And it kind of giving instruction to the tribes of, like, okay, this is what you need to do. And this is what's required of you, right? And you can imagine if you have all these people in the very beginning with all of this huge amount of numbers. I mean, 46,000, 59,000, 45,000, 74,000, 54,000, 57,000. Like, there's thousands of people that these tribe leaders have to relay these duties or these instructions to. And as you can tell, I'm sure there's a little bit of a theme going on. People start complaining about it. Then in chapter 8, there's preparing of the lamps. When you set up the 7 lamps in the lampstand, place them so their light shines forward in front of the lampstand. So Aaron did this. He set up the 7 lamps so they reflected their light forward, just as the Lord had commanded. So it says the entire lampstand from its base to the decorative blossoms was made of beaten gold. And it has these instructions of what everybody should do. They talk about the second Passover in 9, and then the silver trumpets in 10, which, again, another theme that we see later on at the very end in Revelation. Then we come to 11, which I will start reading inside of 11, because inside of 11, this is where, again, like I said, this is kind of a theme that's going on of people complaining about God's provision. Okay, they're wanting to go back to Egypt again. Even though Egypt was bondage, it's more that fear and discomfort is almost easier. And if you know me at all, easy is not the best way in any scenario, ever. God never said things were going to be easy. He never said that they were going to be, just this, okay, well, if you do this, everything's going to be great kind of thing. And I tend to like to remind myself of that on a daily basis, that when things get difficult or when it seems rough, like this is just part of the journey. It truly is. So in 11, it says, soon the people began to complain about their hardship, and the Lord heard everything they said. Then the Lord's anger blazed against them, and he sent a fire to rage among them, and he destroyed some of the people in the outskirts of the camp. When the people screamed to Moses for help, and when he prayed to the Lord, the fire stopped. After that, the area was known as the Taberah, which means the place of burning, because fire from the Lord had burned among them there. When the foreign rabble were traveling and with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt, and the people of Israel also began to complain, "Oh, for some meat," they exclaimed. "We remember the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt, and we all had the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic we wanted. But now our appetites are gone. All we ever see is this manna." So again, we're still in a season of they're only provided certain things. So they're complaining about the food, they're complaining about their housing, they're complaining about the rules. Because in Egypt, even though Egypt was difficult, they got to eat certain things. They got to do certain things. And it says the manna looked like small coriander seeds, and it was pale yellow like gum resin. The people would go out and gather it from the ground. They made flour by grounding it with hand mills or pounding it in mortars. Then they boiled it in a pot and made it into flat cakes. These cakes tasted like pastries baked with olive oil. The manna came down on the camp with the dew during the night. So that same law that we read, I believe in Exodus, is still there. Moses heard all the families standing in the doorways of their tents whining, and the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also very aggravated. And Moses said to the Lord, "Why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve the burden of all these people? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into the world? Why did you tell me to carry them in my arms like a mother carries a nursing baby? How can I carry them to the land you swore to give their ancestors? Where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep whining to me, saying, 'Give us meat to eat,' and I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery." Moses chooses 70 leaders. So at this point, the Lord said to Moses, "Gather before me 70 men who are recognized as elders and leaders of Israel. Bring them to the tabernacle to stand there with you. I will come down and talk to you there. I will take some of the spirit that is upon you, and I will put the spirit upon them too. And they will bear the burden of the people along with you, so you will not have to carry it alone. And say to the people, 'Purify yourselves, for tomorrow you will have meat to eat.' You were whining, and the Lord heard you when you cried, 'Oh, for some meat. We were better off in Egypt.' Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will have it to eat. And it won't be just for a day or two, or 5 or 10 or even 20. You will eat it for a whole month until you gag and are sick of it. For you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and you have whined to him, saying, 'Why did we ever leave Egypt?' But Moses responded to the Lord, 'There are 600,000 foot soldiers here with me, and yet you say, I will give them meat for a whole month. Even if we butchered all the flocks and herds, would that satisfy them? Even if we caught all the fish in the sea, would that be enough?' When the Lord said to Moses, 'Has my arm lost its power? Now you will see whether or not my word comes true.' So Moses went out and reported the Lord's word to the people. He gathered the 70 elders and stationed them around the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to Moses. Then he gave the 70 elders the same spirit that was upon Moses. And when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied. But this never happened again. 2 men, Elad and Medad, had stayed behind the camp. They were listed among the elders, but they had not gone out to the tabernacle. Yet the Spirit rested upon them as well. So they prophesied here in the camp. A young man ran and reported to Moses, "Elad and Medad are prophesying in the camp." Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' assistant since his youth, protested, "Moses, my master, make them stop." But Moses replied, "Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his spirit upon them all." Then Moses returned to the camp with the elders of Israel. Now the Lord sent a wind that brought a quail from the sea and let them fall all around the camp. For miles in every direction there were quail flying and falling about 3 feet above the ground. So the people went out and caught quail all day and throughout the night and all the next day too. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. They spread the quail all around the camp to dry. But while they were gorging themselves on the meat, while it was still in their mouths, the anger of the Lord blazed against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. So that place that was called Kibroth Hadavah, which means graves of gluttony, because that's where they buried the people who had craved meat from Egypt. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the Israelites traveled to Hazroth, where they stayed for some time. So, as you can see, what's happening is, I can only imagine what the Lord was feeling, is that he's like, I've released you from this, and everyone is still complaining. And, we've kind of, like I said, we've had this theme of people just complaining all of the time, and it doesn't stop. It's never enough. It's never enough that you were taken out of a bad situation and put into another situation that, number one, is better for you. And yes, you're going to your promised land. Yes, there's all these promises that the Lord has given his people through Moses and now through these leaders. It's about timing. It's about timing. And the thing is that even from the beginning of time, people are in such a rush to get their blessings and, that end goal, right? And I know that I'm not innocent in that. I know that there's been times in my life where I want something right now, and that has to do with control. And that is not something to live every day by. Now, do we have everyday responsibilities? Yes. But God leads our path. And the blessings that we're looking for, or the breakthrough that we're looking for, or the thing that we've been praying for may not happen in the timeline that we are wanting. And as you know, these people have been traveling for a while now. Okay? And I'm sure there are people that are satisfied, but the majority of them were not. And looking at the big picture, with the Lord, he knows everything, right? He knows when, he knows how. Obviously, he knew they were going to complain, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't make him mad. I totally get it. It's like a parent. So you tell your kid, okay, just wait. And they don't wait. And you're like, told you to wait, right? So in chapter 12, it's the complaints of Miriam and Aaron. Okay, they were criticizing Moses at this point. And they're kind of testing him, right? And they're like, if the prophets were among you, I, the Lord, will reveal myself in visions. I would speak to them in dreams, but not with my servant Moses. All of my house, he is the one I trust. I speak to him face to face clearly and not in riddles. He sees the Lord as is. So why were you not afraid to criticize my servant Moses? The Lord was angry with him and he departed. So it's now the Lord is like, okay, well, this is what's going on, guys. In 13, this talks about the 12 scouts that are exploring Canaan, okay? And they're, again, more tribes and leaders, okay, of these names. And these are the names of the men that Moses sent out to explore the land. And he gave these men instructions and sent them out to explore the land. Go north through the Negev into the hill city, see what the land is like, and find out whether the people living there are strong or weak, few or many. See what kind of land they live in. Is it good or bad? Do the towns have walls? Are they unprotected like open camps? Is the soil fertile or poor? Are there many trees? Do your best to bring back samples of the crops you see. It happened to be the season for harvesting and the first ripe grapes. So they went up and explored the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob near Lebo-Hamath. Going north, they passed through the Negev and arrived at Hebron. And so again, they're going and they're finding all these lands. And then they come back with a scouting report. And they were exploring for over 40 days and coming back into the wilderness. They reported that the whole community that had seen and showed them the fruit they had taken from the land, This was their report. We entered the land you sent us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. So again, you hear this term, milk and honey. Okay, here's the kind of fruit it produces, but the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in Negev, and the Hittites and Jubites and Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan Valley. But Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. Let's go at once to take the land, he said. We can certainly conquer it. So here we go, there's certain instructions being given, and there's other tribes that are like, yeah, no, we'll just go and take it. It's fine. Because all they're hearing, right, is land of milk and honey. All they're hearing is that it's this bountiful land. That's all they're hearing. And they're yearning and longing for this land that God has promised them. But they're not waiting. They're not trusting that it's all in his timing. And this is all that Numbers is about, is trusting in his timing. Trusting, right? Now, God has given us free will. Back then, it was not so easy, right? In the Old Testament, it's not so easy because of Jesus. So here, they don't have that ability. There were consequences if there were things done, right? So it's like Moses sends those people to explore this promised land that the Lord has given to them, to just explore it, right? And they see all these amazing things that I'm talking about, the fertile land, the strong cities, good people, but they're seeing it differently. They're like, shh, we're going to go and possess the land. We're going to conquer it. We can do it. We're enough, right? And that's the thing, is that there's certain of them, of these leaders from the tribe, that they see a little bit of obstacle. They're like, oh, there's giants and these people are really strong, and I don't think that we can do that, which is a little bit more of reasoning, right? And then Caleb, he's like, nah, we're going to go over there and we're just going to handle business. It's almost like he sees this as an opportunity. And this is the huge teaching, is that faith and fear often look the same in a situation. I'm going to say that again. Faith and fear almost look the same in a situation. But the difference is your perspective. And as we head into 14, this is when the people start to rebel, because all of these things have now happened. And it says the whole community began weeping aloud, and they cried all night. Their voices rose in a great chorus of protest against Moses and Aaron. If we only had died in Egypt, or even here in the wilderness, they complained. Why is the Lord taking us to the country only to have us die in battle? Our wives and our little ones will be carried off as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to return to Egypt? Then they plotted amongst themselves, let us choose a new leader and go back to Egypt. Moses and Aaron fell face down on the ground before the whole community of Israel. Two of the men who explored the land, Joshua of Nun and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, I'm going to say Jephunneh. It's probably completely wrong. Tore their clothing. They said to all the people of Israel, the land we traveled through and explored, it is wonderful. It is a wonderful land. And if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into the land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey. Do not rebel against the Lord, and don't be afraid of the people of the land. They are only helpless prey to us. They have no protection, but the Lord is with us. Don't be afraid of them. But the whole community began to talk about the stoning of Joshua and Caleb. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to the Israelites at the tabernacle, and the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people treat me with contempt? Will they never believe me, even after all the miraculous signs I have done among them? I will disown them and destroy them with a plague. Then I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they are. Moses then intercedes for the people, but Moses objected. What will the Egyptians think when they hear about hear about it?" he asked the Lord. "They know full well the power that you've displayed in rescuing your people from Egypt. Now, if you destroy them, the Egyptians will send a report to the inhabitants of this land, who have already heard that you live among your people. They know, Lord, that you must appear to your people face to face, and that your pillar of the cloud hovers over them. They know that you go before them in the pillar of the cloud by day and by the pillar of fire by night. Now, if you slaughter all these people with a single blow, the nations that have heard of your fame will say, 'The Lord was not able to bring them into the land he swore to give them, so he killed them in the wilderness.' Please, Lord, prove that your power is as great as you have claimed, for you said the Lord is slow to anger and filled with unfailing love, forgiving every kind of sin and rebellion. But he does not excuse the guilty. He lays the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even the children in the third and fourth generations. In keeping with your magnificent, unfailing love, please pardon the sins of these people, just as you have forgiven them since they left Egypt." Then the Lord said, "I will pardon them as you have requested. But as surely as I live, and as surely as the earth is filled with the Lord's glory, not one of these people will enter that land. They will have seen all my glorious presence and all the miraculous signs I have performed both in Egypt and in the wilderness. But again and again they have tested me by refusing to listen to my voice. They will never see the land I swore to give their ancestors. None of those who have treated me with contempt will ever see it. But my servant Caleb has had a different attitude than the others. He has remained loyal to me, so I will bring him to the land that he explored. He has remained loyal, so I will bring him to the land. His descendants will possess their full share of that land. Now turn around and don't go on towards the land where the Amalekites and Canaanites live. Tomorrow you must set out for the wilderness in the direction of the Red Sea." So now the Lord punishes the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "How long must I put up with this wicked community and its complaints about me? Yes, I have heard the complaints, and the Israelites are making against me. Now tell them this: as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very things I heard you say. You all will drop dead in this wilderness because you complained against me. Every one of you who was 20 years old or older and was included in the registration will die. You will not enter or occupy the land that I swore to give you. The only exceptions will be Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. You said your children would be carried off as plunder. Well, I will bring them safely into the land, and they will enjoy what you have despised. But as for you, you will drop dead in the wilderness, and your children will be like shepherds wandering the wilderness for 40 years. In this way, they will pay for your faithfulness until the last of you lies dead in the wilderness. Because your men explored the land for 40 days, you must wander in the wilderness for 40 years, a year for each day, suffering the consequences of your sins. Then you will discover what it is like for me as an enemy. I, the Lord, have spoken. I will have certainly do these things to every member of the community who has conspired against me. They will be destroyed here in the wilderness, and here they will die. The 10 men Moses had sent to explore the land, the ones who incited rebellion against the Lord and their bad report, they were struck dead with a plague before the Lord. On one of the 12 who had explored the land, only Joshua and Caleb remained alive. When Moses reported the Lord's words to all the Israelites, the people were filled with grief. Then they got up early the next morning and went to the top of the range of the hills. "Let's go," they said. "We realize that we have sinned, and now we are ready to enter the land that the Lord has promised us." But Moses said, Why are you now disobeying the Lord's orders to return to the wilderness? It won't work. Do not go up to the land now. You will only be crushed by your enemies because the Lord is not with you. When you face the Amalekites and the Canaanites in battle, you will be slaughtered. The Lord will abandon you because you have abandoned the Lord." But the people defiantly pushed ahead towards the hill country, even though neither Moses nor the ark of the Lord's covenant left the camp. Then the Amalekites and Canaanites who live in those hills came down and attacked them and chased them back as far as Hormah. There's a lot going on there. And with the Lord, he reigns true on the things that he's saying. And he's like, okay, well, this is what's been happening. This is what's been going on. You don't want to be a part of it. And I find it interesting that all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, we're really sad about this, and now, we'll go and do, what Caleb wanted to do. And it's like, you can't take back something. We've learned here inside of the community that words have power, and even thoughts. The Lord knows them all. So I think it's really important to understand that what he's saying here, you can even see there's some really interesting teachings here. And again, this is chapter 14, where he says that it doesn't excuse the guilty. He lays the sins of the parents upon their children, the entire family that it is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations. So when people talk about generational curses or things that are happening in generations. And, I've heard some people say like, oh, I don't know why this is happening to me. It happened to my parents. It's this here tells you why. It tells you why. Now, with Jesus coming, now you have to remember, Jesus also said he is the law of Moses. That doesn't mean that the law of Moses is washed and gone. Something to think about. So in 15, they talk about offerings and giving people instructions of the festivals, the voluntary offerings, the burnt offerings, the sacrifice offerings, all of these offerings that they must do, that Moses is giving the instruction to the people. Whether they're foreigners or not, people coming into the community. And again, penalty for breaking the Sabbath, tassels on clothing. Okay, these are important things right here. So the penalty for breaking the Sabbath. One day while the people of Israel were in the wilderness, they discovered a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. The people who found him doing this took him before Moses and Aaron and the rest of the community. They held him in custody because they did not know what to do with him. Then the Lord said to Moses, the man must be put to death. The whole community must stone him outside the camp. So the whole community took the man outside of the camp and stoned him to death, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. I mean, it's getting real wild up in here. And you have a lot of people, you have a lot of tribes, you have a really big community. There are things that are happening. Tassels on clothing. Then the Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Throughout the generations to come, you must make tassels for the hems of your clothing and attach them with the blue cord. When you see the tassels, you will remember and obey all of my commands of the Lord, instead of following your own desires and defiling yourselves as you are prone to do. The tassels will help you remember that you must obey all of my commands and be holy to your God. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and that I might be your God. I am the Lord your God. So, if you've ever wondered why the tassels on the clothing, the hem of your garment, we know that from the story of the lady touching just the slight, okay? This is why. So that you don't forget the laws. You don't forget what God has done. You just don't forget it. And as we are reading in here, people are starting to panic. And they're like, we should have stayed here. Let's do something else. And that's the whole thing, is that fear always magnifies obstacles and it minimizes what God has promised. And so he was telling them, in 14 going into 15, that your children are going to wander in the wilderness and you're going to die. And there's consequences to your actions and the choices that you have made. So we have to remember that God's promises are real. They are real and true. Just because they're not happening in your timing doesn't mean that they're not going to be fulfilled or real. But their unbelief delayed their journey. And it's not that God canceled his promise that he had given to his people, the covenant, right? He didn't cancel it. But he said, your generation that doubted aren't going to experience it. You're not going to experience it. And I think that's so powerful to understand that God doesn't go back on his promises of things. He doesn't. But our unwillingness to want to just have everything right now delays those promises. And so we have to, it begs the question, what are you denying that's delaying your promise or your blessing? Something that maybe you've been waiting for. And like I said before we started, like, I'm guilty of that. There's a couple things in my life that I'm like, gosh, when is this going to happen? I've been waiting. I think I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Probably not. But I will tell you one thing. I haven't directly complained about it. I've thought about it. And now reading through Numbers, I think it's pretty much the same. So it's definitely a check-in my spirit personally. So now we have in 16 Korah's rebellion. And this is a son of Izhar, descendant of Levi. And they're talking about the Levites. I'm not going to read all of that. But then in 17, the budding of Aaron's staff. Okay. And you have to remember the staff and what the staff represented. Moses, he had it, it turned into a snake. Like, there's a lot of things that have to do with the staff. And then in 18, the duties of the priests and the Levites. And then going into the water of purification. It's another legal requirement commanded by the Lord. Tell the people of Israel to bring you a red heifer, a perfect animal that has no defects and has never been yoked to plow. Give it to Eleazar the priest, and it will be taken outside the camp and slaughtered. He will take some of its blood on its finger and sprinkle it 7 times towards the front of the tabernacle. So again, these same type of these offerings and purifications, right? And talking about all those who touch a dead human body will be ceremonially unclean. They must purify themselves. This is a ritual law that applies when someone dies inside a tent. And then the removal of defilement. So that's 19. And then in 20, this is a pretty big moment that people talk about, is when Moses strikes the rock. Because you also have to understand that Moses has been listening to God's commands and leading people to the promised land, the promise of the covenant of that God has given people, and all of these crazy things are going on. It's kind of similar to what's going on in our world right now. There's like, who do you listen to? Who do you go to? Are you afraid? What is going on? I've heard more of that in the last week than probably in the last 10 years. Well, the world's just crazy right now. Like, who are you trusting in? Because I know I'm trusting in God. And God is going to make a way. He never said it was going to be easy. Will times get tough? I'm sure. But it's not like anything that we haven't endured before, or me personally. So you need to trust in him that he is going to take care of you. So in 20, Moses strikes the rock. In the first month of the year, the whole community of Israel arrived in the wilderness of Zin and camped at Kadesh. While they were there, Miriam died and was buried. There was no water for the people to drink at that place, so they rebelled again against Moses and Aaron. The people blamed Moses and said, "If only we had died in the Lord's presence with our brothers. Why have you brought us in the congregation of the Lord's people into the wilderness to die, along with this and all of our livestock? Why did you make us leave Egypt and bring us here to this terrible place? This land has no grain, no figs, no grapes, no pomegranates, and no water to drink." Moses and Aaron turned away from the people and went to the entrance of the tabernacle, where they fell face down on the ground. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord said to Moses, "You and Aaron must take the staff and assemble the entire community. As the people watch, speak to the rock over there, and it will pour out its water. You will provide enough water from the rock to satisfy the whole community and their livestock." So Moses did as he was told. He took the staff from the place where it was before it kept before the Lord. Then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. "Listen, you rebels," he shouted. "Must we bring water from this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with the staff, and the water gushed out. So the entire community and their livestock drank their fill. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I am giving them." This place was known as the waters of Meribah, which means arguing, because there the people of Israel argued with the Lord, and there he demonstrated his holiness among them. While Moses was at Kadesh, he sent ambassadors to the king of Edom with this message: "This is what your relatives, the people of Israel, say. You know all the hardships we have been through. Our ancestors went down to Egypt, and we lived there a long time, and we and our ancestors were brutally mistreated by the Egyptians. But when we cried out to the Lord, he heard us and sent an angel who brought us out of Egypt. Now we are camped at Kadesh, a town on the border of your land. Please let us travel through your land. We will be careful not to go through your fields and vineyards. We won't even drink water from your wells. We will stay on the king's road and never leave it until we have passed through the territory." But the king of Edom said, "Stay out of my land, or I will meet you with an army." The Israelites answered, "We will stay on the main road. If our livestock drink your water, we will pay for it. Just let us pass through your country. That's all we ask." But the king of Edom replied, "Stay out. You may not pass through the land." With that, he mobilized his army, and he marched out against them with an imposing force. Because Edom refused to allow Israel to pass through their country, Israel was forced to turn around. Now, this is when Aaron dies. The whole community of Israel left Kadesh and arrived at Mount Hor. Therefore, on the border of the land of Edom, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "The time has come for Aaron to join his ancestors in death. He will not enter the land I am giving the people of Israel, because the two of you rebelled against my instructions concerning the water at Meribah. Now take Aaron and his son Izhar up the Mount Hor. There you will remove Aaron's priestly garments and put them on Izhar his son. Aaron will die there and join his ancestors." So Moses did as the Lord commanded. The three of them went up Mount Hor together as a whole community watched. At that summit, Moses removed the priestly garments from Aaron and put them all on Eleazar, Aaron's son. Then Aaron died there on top of the mountain, and Moses and Eleazar went back down. When the people realized that Aaron had died, all Israel mourned for him for 30 days. So, again, things are happening. Now in 21, there's a victory over the Canaanites. The Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in Negev, heard that the Israelites were approaching on the road. So he attacked the Israelites and took some of them as prisoners. Then the people of Israel made a vow to the Lord: "If you will hand these people over to us, we will completely destroy all their towns." The Lord has heard the Israelites' requests and gave them victory over the Canaanites. The Israelites completely destroyed them and their towns, and the place has been called Hormah ever since. The Israelites traveled to Oboth, and camped there. Then they went on Eri Abram in the wilderness on the eastern border of Moab. From there they traveled to the valley of Zered Brook and set up camp. From there the Israelites traveled to Beer, which then at the well where the Lord said to Moses, "Assemble the people, and I will give them water." There all the Israelites sang in song. "Spring up, O well, yes, sing its praises. Sing of this well which princes dug, which great leaders hollowed out with their scepters and staffs." Then the Israelites left the wilderness and proceeded on through to Madahan, Nathan, Bethum, Bamoth. After that, they went to live in the valley in Moab, where Pegish Peak overlooks the wasteland. And see, it continues. There's victory over Sinai and Og, the victory over the Canaanites, and Balak sends for Balaam. So this here is, there's more tribe leaders, okay, as we're going through this, and it continues. So they're going to this land, right? So even though the people have failed, God is still remaining consistent with everything. And I'm sure there's so much that is going on, and people are dying, and Aaron died, and certain people are being captured, but they're still making a way. They're still making a way. There was a message that is very important in Balaam's message that, the king Balak had told them, come with me to another place. And this was the message that Balaam delivered, which is important. Rise up, Balak, and listen. Hear me, son of Zephyr. God is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he does not change his mind. Has he ever spoken and failed to act? Has he ever promised and not carried it through? Listen, I received a command to bless. God has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. No misfortune is in his plan for Jacob. No trouble is in store for Israel, for the Lord their God is with them. He has been proclaimed their king. God brought them out of Egypt. For them, he is as strong as a wild ox. No curse can touch Jacob. No magic has any power against Israel. For now it will be said of Jacob, what wonders God has done for Israel. These people rise up like lioness, like a majestic lion rousing itself. They refuse to eat until they have feasted on prey, drinking the blood of the slaughtered. Then Balak said to Balaam, fine, if you won't curse them, at least don't bless them. But Balaam replied to Balak, didn't I tell you that I can only do what the Lord tells me? So I don't know about you, but in reading just that verse there in 23, by the way, that was 23, starting at 18, 23:18, all the way to, I would say 26, just because the exchange between Balak and Balaam. I would do the whole thing because it reminds us that God's character never changes. He doesn't change. I mean, he said it right there. God is not, why would he lie? He's not a man. He's not going to lie to you like man would, right? So again, unbelief may delay your destiny or whatever it is chosen for you, but it's not a defeat on God's promises because God doesn't lie. God doesn't lie. Now, this continues inside of Numbers. There is so much that is happening inside of Numbers. You have a lot of different scenarios, okay? We have another second registration of Israel's troops in 26. So now the troops have changed, right? Because God said that those first original people, you're not going to see that land. Okay, so now we're having some transfers that are happening, so we have to list these things. And I think right in here, if I'm not mistaken, there's, hold on. I had seen in here, there was like over 108,000 on somebody's stuff. Like, so now it's like, okay, the registered troops numbered 43,000 followers, 40,076. Okay, hold on. Okay, it says, in summary, the registered troops of Israel numbered 601,730. 601,000. Over 500,000 people. Over 500,000 people. Divide the land among the tribes. Like, there's so much going on and I mean, back then that was a lot of people. Okay, I mean, now we have billions of people. But I mean, at this point, this is just the Israelites, okay? God's people. We're not talking about the Egyptians and any of the other things that are going on, right? Then in 27, the daughters of Zephophed, the day the petition was presented to the daughters, and there's 5 daughters. Their father was a descendant of Heifer, son of Gilead, son of, okay, like, I'm not going through these names, I'll be honest with you. Son of Makar, son of Messiah, son of Joseph. These women stood before Moses, and Eleazar the priest, and the tribal leaders and the entire community of the entrance of the tabernacle. Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers who rebelled against the Lord. He died because of his own sin, but he had no sons. Why should the name of our father disappear from his clan just because he had no sons? Give us property along with the rest of our relatives. Moses brought the case before the Lord, and the Lord replied to Moses, the claim of the daughters is legitimate. You must give them a grant of the land. Now look at that. Like, there's so many cool little tiny things that are happening inside of Numbers. Like, you have these 5 daughters, and they're coming and they're like, hey, like, could you imagine, like, if you were in charge of like all these thousands of people and you're just sitting there and like people are coming to you with your requests, like, and then you have the complainers, and then you have people that want certain things, and then you have to, like, it was such a process. It was such a process of these things. In 28, they talk about daily offerings, Sabbath, monthly offerings, offerings for Passover, the festivals again, Festival of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement. Okay. And this is it tells you on the 5th day of the festival, on the 6th day of the festival, like, it's very specific inside of here. Laws concerning vows. And this is a good one. Laws concerning vows when it comes to man and wife. The conquest of the Midianites. Jordan again. And talking about how these people left as well. Like, okay, well, they left here and then went here. They left here and then went there. I mean, that goes on I'm literally just seeing it. Says they left the wilderness of sin and camped. They left Japai and camped. Like, this is in 33 from 5 to 48. Women who inherit property. And then at the very end of Numbers, because this gets us to the end of Numbers, it says, these are the commands and regulations that the Lord gave to the people of Israel through Moses while they were camped on the plains of Moab beside the Jordan River across from Jericho. So all of this was going on to bring God's people to the promised land. Not everybody survived it. And something that I would like to leave you with and ask you is kind of in a reflection of Numbers. Where has fear been louder than faith in your life? And what promise of God have you hesitated to trust that he's going to fulfill? And are you focusing on more obstacles than God's true faithfulness in your life? These are some really big and it seems heavy questions to ask, right? Because it truly is about trusting the Lord when you have been told something or promised something, and maybe it's not happening the way that you want it to, in the timeline that you want it to be in, the way that you wanted it to look like. And may God bless you and keep you, and his smile be upon you and give you peace. It says it. Like, God has your back. He has your best interests at heart. He loves you beyond measure that you could even fathom. And so I want to leave you with that today inside of Numbers, is that even for myself, is that there's certain things that have not happened yet that I've been really working towards, but I know it's going to happen, and I have to have faith that it's going to happen. I get emotional about it because there's so many of us that are just like, everything has to happen right now. And the thing is that we have to believe that God loves us. We trust him, and we have to have true and honest faith. True and honest faith that God is going to deliver on his promises. And if it's not in the timeline that we are expectant of, we can't have these such high expectations. We can't, because that doesn't allow the beauty and the blessings and the miracles of God to be shown through. You really have to lean on him and his timing and the faith you have in him and the promises that he's made to you. Because if you really stopped for 1 second and looked at your life, do you really need more? Would you be trusted with more because your faith? Numbers teaches us that. So I'm going to leave you with that today. If you would like to go through Numbers completely, I encourage you to do so. I am most likely going to pre-record next week's. I'm sorry, I won't necessarily be live. And I have some things going on with Kylie, and as you all know, and so I will be out of town, but I want to pre-record what we'll be talking about next week, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Deuteronomy. And I will be playing it, so it's live for you guys to watch, because it's very, very important that we stay on track with these things, because what we're being taught and what we're being shown each week from these pages is so important for every single day of our lives. So just wanted to let you know that. But we do have some exciting things this week inside of Kingdom Alliance. If you are a member, make sure that you take a look at the calendar, make sure inside of the group. But thank you so much for being here with me today. And again, the things that are going on inside of Numbers, really take a deep dive. Do you have the trust in God that he's asking you to have to bring you to where he wants you to go and what he's promised you? So have a beautiful week. And thank you so much for being here.